Hello, I'm Dee Dee Doak, editor of Recruiter Magazine and recruiter.co.uk. Welcome to the latest episode in the Future of Resourcing series, brought to you by Annapurna HR and HRTN. Today, we're going to be talking with Mike Bickford, Senior Resourcing Business Partner Network Operations with Network Rail. And a theme that we're going to be covering in some depth is the quality of conversations that organizations need to be having with candidates in order to be sure that a match is right for both candidate and for the organization. Here's Mike.
So as a business, we recognise that we've got lots of complexity. People probably need to think about what is it we do, how do we work, and where would they fit within our organisation. We felt that using a social media approach would help us to engage with people at a much earlier point in the process than traditional recruitment activity. We felt it would give us an opportunity to engage with people. We also felt it would be an opportunity to help people to self-select. What we actually found is that we've got an awful lot more interest, but it hasn't necessarily helped us to nurture that kind of debate and that discussion. More recently, we also felt that whilst recruiters have a great opportunity to engage and to effectively sell an opportunity, the best people to sell the employer, the brand, the way it works, the things it does, are actually your existing employees. So across our apprenticeship and our graduate programs, we have used existing apprentices and existing graduates to interface directly with candidates through mediums such as Facebook and Twitter. The debate that happens is so much more rich. It's about what really happens. It's about the things that are real considerations for future candidates. And conversations that we've seen play out over Facebook can be anything as straightforward as, academically, how difficult is the training, right the way through to what's it like to be away from home and to stay at a training base for nearly 12 months in the first year of the apprenticeship. These are really important factors for a candidate. They form the basis of their decision-making process. They want to understand how this is all going to affect them. And I think it means that when they come to actually engage with us formally through selection, what we tend to find is they're very engaged, they're very well informed, and they naturally perform well through the process because they know exactly what to expect. I think more broadly, as an organisation, we've certainly tested this primarily on the new entrant audience. We need to look at how we now do this more broadly. We want to engage with our candidates much earlier on. We want to make sure they fully understand what it is that we do, and the way to do that, I think, is to actually get back to basics and make sure there are more quality conversations happening, crucially, before people hit the apply button. There are other mechanisms to engage with people. Lots of people are using social media, and that's probably the right thing to do to provide an overview of your organisation. What it won't always do is give you a quality conversation every time. Organisations shouldn't lose sight of the fact that very traditional mechanisms such as open evenings have a real profound impact. We find that people that turn up for things like open evenings, we ran some for Milton Keynes campaign last year, we've run more for our new entrants campaigns, people walking through the door are already interested in your organisation, they've already done some homework. The fact that they've made the effort to come and talk to you directly, I think, is a really good sign. I guess the challenge with social media is that social media is just so easy. How can you assure yourself that the people that you're engaging with are really interested in your organisation, or are they just taking some time out on the bus because they've got nothing better to do? The quality of a conversation, the quality of having direct engagement with an individual, it's not new, but potentially a lot of organisations are potentially losing the opportunity because I think we're placing a lot of emphasis on technology and social media. For us, I actually think we need to have a real balanced approach to both, so that we're doing the social media to help to raise the profile of the organisation in the first place, but at quite a high level. But then we've got other mechanisms that really help us to engage directly with our candidates, so that they can make a really informed decision as to whether, are we the right organisation for them? What are the concerns they might have? What's the journey like? How difficult is it to commute? Those sorts of things. I guess the other bit around those open evenings is you get a real sense of culture, and that's something social media struggles to do. if people meet with people who already work in the organisation, I think you get a real sense for what we're all about. And actually, as an organisation, we've got a huge number of employees across the UK. We've got a very open, diverse culture. We want to make it even more open and diverse. On that basis, there's nothing better than to use your existing employees to engage with prospective employees, to give them a really crisp view of what the organisation is all about. And actually, we've got people who've been with us, since school age. Some people have been with us 40 years. You've got others that are very new to the organisation. So we've got a massive range of different profiles internally, and I think that's great because it helps to really demonstrate, the diversity, the mixture of kind of skills and cultures that we've got. Yeah, certainly if we look at our approach to the new entrant activity, we saw some fantastic results through our apprenticeship campaign and through our graduate campaign. The quality, the calibre, the impact at the actual assessment centres seem to be much better than it has. Certainly for some of the apprenticeship activity, we were seeing literally the whole cohort at a assessment centre, meeting the baseline standard, and that's never happened before. On our more traditional recruitment, we've moved into more of a talent acquisition approach, and again that is driven by good quality conversations. So aside from having a positive impact on our cost base and a lower reliance upon suppliers, we've actually reached out to more people. We've started to generate conversations and generate pools of people that we can talk to at a given point as it's appropriate. So when there's a role that's right and relevant for somebody, we're able to reach out to those individuals and have a continuation of a conversation, as opposed to having to rely upon, again, our brand on its own just to market an opportunity to somebody that may not already be thinking about us. I think for me, the key point is that if people are already thinking about you, whether passive or not, I think you're starting to hit the mark. That's where you've got the real measure that says actually getting access to the right candidates is becoming easier, and the quality is there as well. That's crucial. So social media, it's not a panacea. You will reach a lot of people very, very quickly, but that does not assure you of quality. I think the quality comes in when you're able to help to engage and filter with those people and to really help them inform on whether that's the right opportunity for them. I think social media is certainly something that's not going to go anywhere, but it shouldn't be underestimated how much additional time, effort and resources you may need to deploy to that. So we've tackled it certainly from an internal point of view of trying to get as many people engaged in that process as possible. If you're purely reliant upon your resourcing function delivering all of that social media output, that's quite a challenge because it's hugely time consuming. Social media is very prompt. People expect a prompt response, and therefore you've got to have essentially 24-hour coverage. So some of my colleagues in the graduate team in particular, they're answering tweets or Facebook questions at all times of the day, and that's the expectation that people have for social media. So it's not to be underestimated that it can have a fairly significant impact on the resources that you've got available. I think the other thing that we would probably do differently is we would make sure that we frame why we're using social media. What is it we expect it to do for us, and what do we want it to do for our candidate? And I think that's something all organisations got to really think about. What does that social media do for you? Is it about asking candidates to pre-qualify? Is it about being able to simply answer questions that they may have? Is it a replacement for a phone line or for an email box? What does it do for your organisation? When we started, particularly with the apprentice piece, we still had an email contact, a phone line, and we utilised social media. Going forward, we may only need to rely upon social media to cover some of those obvious Q&As that people put forward to us. The other bit is probably to really reiterate the use of existing employees as part of that social media strategy. There's nothing wrong with recruiters. We're all recruiters. We are built, though, to sell and to generate interest in an organisation. We are brand ambassadors, to coin a phrase. That's great, but actually what your candidates are more likely to want to hear is from those people who are actually doing the job. And time after time we see the conversations that happen are really detailed conversations. We don't tell those who get involved in social media to be guarded. We want them to be honest. We want them to be transparent. We want them to tell prospective candidates that there are bits about this job you need to be aware of. There are challenges, it's difficult, it's late night shifts, whatever it happens to be, but we would rather people are very open, because actually that candidate gets then to decide if they deselect or not, and that's hugely powerful, because for me, we get lots and lots and lots of applications. I would prefer we have fewer applications, we can deal with them more effectively, we can provide better service to our candidates, and I think we'll actually get better quality as a result. Employer brand is very simple. It's being able to tell somebody what's in it for them. You know, if you join the organisation, what are you going to experience? What does the benefits look like? What's the progression like? And I think as long as we keep it quite straightforward and simple, because our candidates just want simple, straightforward information, I think that's a good thing. The danger is if you try and utilise it and try and deploy it in a way that guarantees you of particular outcomes in terms of candidate numbers. Just because you've got a very strong brand or proposition, it doesn't mean you're going to attract the quality people. There's a real distinction there that just says this gives people the right information to make an informed choice on your organisation. It's not going to solve all your challenges in terms of recruitment. For me, an employee value proposition has to be backed up by a decent mechanism to engage formally with candidates. EVP on its own will simply bring them to the door. What you need your recruitment and your business teams to do is to help to bring people through the door and engage them formally. So there's very much a kind of partnership needed between whatever your brand's talking to people about, and do those people coming through the process experience the same things as they've seen in your EVP through the recruitment process, and indeed through the individuals that they engage with directly. It would be a real shame to have a really sparkly EVP, but actually when people interface with you as an organisation, they don't experience any of those things. They don't understand how the two things connect, and that's where there's a real danger. So you have to make sure that EVP or your brand, it's realistic, it reflects the realities, it reflects the fact that you're an organisation in transition, or you're an organisation that's still developing and growing, or principally that you're an organisation that recognises it still has lots of things it needs to do better. Whatever the factors, it needs to be embedded within that proposition, that brand, so that your candidates completely recognise it and completely understand what they're getting themselves into.